I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when it's done to make sure it's broke.
Oh, Renegade Culture.
Blow.
You know what I'm saying? It was Rakim's birthday?
That's right, 53 years old.
53, peace to God.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad he don't sound like that, but that was a good tip, y'all. Y'all did it right. You know what I'm saying?
I'm muting myself.
You mean
Anyway, what's happening? Renegade Coaches in the building.
You are?
I am Kalonji Changa, a.k.a. the riot starter. You're a resident African.
Nope. You gonna ask me who I am?
Who are you?
I am the new African, Kamau K. Franklin.
Yeah,
bam.
in the
You know
building,
what I'm saying?
alongside.
I go by the name of the
ear doctor.
It's your boy Jai.
Okay.
Along with Minister Server.
Minister Server, who we had to censor earlier.
I know. You never know. You never know where it's gonna come from up in this
You
group.
never know. It's
I
the
didn't know what was
Renegade
going
Show.
on.
It's the Renegade Show. Come
There's
on
a lot
now.
of renegades up in here.
Hold on, I'd be remiss if I don't mention Jai sitting over here looking like he worked out the whole day.
Tight t-shirt.
Diesel out this man.
Flexing
on him.
I mean, dude came in with a medium on. He got Professor Griff's shirt on tonight. He wanted to show you all his muscles. Shout out to Jai the intern, my man in the building. How's everybody doing? Renegade Culture, we doing it.
Yeah.
Show 98.
Whoa,
I
almost
know
to
you
100,
hate
yo.
my 98.
Almost to 100.
Oh, man, 100 shows, 100 episodes.
Who knew it would last this long?
Man, I remember I wanted to kill you after the second episode.
Goddamn, nigga, with you. Right with you.
We cool now. We cool now.
I know, we good.
Yes.
Somebody stab him.
Yeah.
Yo,
Anyway.
a lot of shit happening so far this week, man. Actually, some sad news in terms of our community. Sister Cicely Tyson has passed away.
Cicely Tyson just had a birthday, 96 years old. You know what I'm saying? So rise in power, Cicely Tyson, one of the most beautiful black women to ever walk the planet Earth.
Gifted actress. Everybody remembers Sounder, like one of the world famous movies that she made. She made hundreds of others, and she was very important to our community. Another very important brother died in our community, Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. Now, I'm going to play Cracker's Advocate right now.
Before you do that,
yes, sir.
I just want to say,
Yes.
home run king.
Okay.
Some people say the greatest baseball player of all time. Okay, now do your thing. I just want to get that
All
out.
right, I unite with all that. He's definitely a powerful baseball player. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks before Hank Aaron transitioned, he was on television with Andrew Young,
True, yes.
Keisha Lance Bottoms and her mama,
Nope.
and a few other people who decided that they were going to promote the COVID vaccine. And he said, on the news, he said he was getting his vaccination because of the fact that he wanted to make sure that black folks were not afraid to get this vaccine.
That's right.
Now, if you rewind the tape a couple shows ago, on Renegade Culture, I said,
You made a premonition.
no, I didn't make a premonition. I said, listen, man, I said, you know, it's sad. I'm going to keep it funky. I said, it's sad that they trotted these Negroes out here on TV to convince the populace to say that, to go ahead and get these non-tested drugs or viruses or whatever the hell they put in this shit. And I said, we will see how long they last afterwards.
The lawyer in me, though, is going to jump in and say, we have no evidence to suggest that his death was caused by the COVID vaccination. So we just want to put that out there.
But we just saying.
Okay. And the all-day freedom fighter hood nigga from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Oh, goddamn, no.
That we don't have no motherfucking evidence that he didn't die from the vaccination.
Right.
So until we find out and we know that these crackers, these Negroes
Goddamn.
are gonna dare say that that's what happened, we're gonna have to just guesstimate. He looked pretty goddamn healthy on the show, on that thing.
But let's move on, though, because some other crazy shit's been happening in the community we wanted to bring up. There was, just in terms of like events that's taking place, so there's these sisters, and the sister in Harlem who was in a store and she was trying to buy something, and then she was approached by these dudes who were trying to talk to her. She said she wasn't interested, and as opposed to leaving her alone, apparently these cats walked her outside the store and attacked her, and this is making news all over the place, and these folks are still, for the most part, as far as we know, on the loose. So we just want to talk about that real quick.
Now, they actually bit this sister in her face. They bit her tried to bite her eye out, she said. They brutally attacked her. Now, I would like to say some things, but I don't want to say it on air because, I don't want no one to say that, I said go out and chop their fucking heads off and
You don't want nobody to say that.
And just brutally assault them and just take them to the heavens. I don't want to say that.
Can I say something?
What you guys say?
That's some fuck boy shit, and they need to get their ass beat.
They need more than an ass whooping. They need to be stomped to their fucking smoothies, and somebody gonna slurp their ass off the fucking ground. So we don't condone you bitch ass clowns out there who are terrorizing these sisters. I've gotten a couple of different emails, sisters saying, man, we hear y'all talking about police terrorism. So we want to say for the record, we're not for any of these secondary predators assaulting our community, especially black women and babies. So, if you see these cats out there, find someone that has the heart to do whatever needs to be done.
So a last topic we want to bring up right here on this part of the show is that, sort of a hilarious juxtaposition. Everybody knows about the riots a few weeks ago at the Capitol. Folks are pointing out one particular black rioter named Emmanuel Jackson thought he was with the white boys, he could do what the white boys did. And apparently other folks are getting, and the white girls actually, let's not exclude them, other folks are getting bailed out all over the place. But apparently this dude is still locked up and he's been denied bail for his participation in the so-called riot or rebellion, whatever the fuck they think they was doing. So he's still locked up. So even though you think that Trump is your man, when it comes down to it, you ain't getting no bail. You still a black man in America, and you got to remember that.
Well, this cat, he actually turned himself in. He was seen on camera hitting the police officer's shields with a bat and all that type of crazy shit. What's his name? Emmanuel Lewis Webster?
Jackson.
Emmanuel Jackson.
Emmanuel Lewis.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Jackson, you guys to be one of the most stupidest niggas I've ever met in all my days. And I didn't even meet you. But I'm just saying you got to be one of the dumbest motherfuckers.
I know, you gonna get...
I mean, first of all, you took your little black ass up in there with these Proud Boys and other homegrown terrorists, and you decided that you was gonna go act a fool. Now, while we're against the state, we know that there's consequences. You understand? So you can't do what white folks do.
That's right. You're gonna end up where you at, in prison.
Yeah,
so real quick, we got 2 new Patreons.
Okay.
You want to shout them out, Doctor?
Yo, big up to Roema Maya
Oh,
and I fucked it up.
Okay, go ahead. Just try it again.
Roema Maya and Trey. Big up to Roema.
We think Trey only gave his first name because he didn't want the ear doctor to fuck up his name. But we thank y'all
We thank you
for giving
all.
us some money. We
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, and last but not least, when we come back, we got an all-star guest coming on. We have a Dr. Charisse Burden-Stelly, the last dope intellectual. And we're going to get into what racial capitalism is. We're going to get into who is the black bourgeoisies and how it affects our community. We're going to talk about all that kind of good shit when we get back on Renegade Culture.
Black Owl.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see the white boy look like he rising above us again. Maybe we'll get back in them slave quarters, niggas, and huddle up like we used to do when the white boy didn't know we was doing it, nigga. We did it in the dark with a candle, nigga. Maybe we'll go back to huddling up in them slave quarters, nigga, trying to plan a way to escape.
Shout out to Renegade Coaches in the building.
Yo, we back on the air.
What's good, man?
Yo, everything is good. I think I missed an important part at the intro about who's our musical guest.
You be fucking up sometimes.
Oh, fuck you, man.
Anyway,
Damn.
we have a special musical guest tonight.
Who's our musical guest?
Brother right here, he's about to drop an EP on, by the time y'all see this video, his EP will be bumping on all platforms.
All right.
He goes by the name is Blue Is Free.
Blue Is Free is with us tonight, you know what I'm saying? Thank you, Blue, for coming on.
Set it off and let folks know what time it is.
That's right. So let's get to our star guest tonight.
Star guest.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give a little intro because she got a lot of like letters behind her name. So we got Dr. Charisse Burden-Stelly.
Okay.
She's a visiting scholar in the Racial Capitalism project at the University of Chicago. She is currently an assistant professor of Africana Studies and Political Science at Carleton College. She has co-written a book with Gerald Horne about W.E.B. Du Bois on the life of American history.
Yes.
And she is about to drop her own book, tentatively titled Black Scare, Red Scare, in which she examines the rise of the United States to global hegemony between World War I and the early Cold War. So, without further ado, Dr. Charisse Burden-Stelly. Thank you!
Hooray!
Why you give a look though? I did your name right. I just added some oomph to it.
Yeah.
Some oomph to your name. How you doing, sis?
I didn't know you was gonna put the Cookie Monster voice on. It caught me off
Yeah,
guard.
you know, I was.
You know what?
How are you?
He did sound like Cookie Monster. You right.
I was like, you know, like that. I was like, I was like,
I'm like, damn. I thought it was just me, and she's like, Shabba,
Shabba.
Shabba. I thought he was gonna start dancing and shit. You sound like this other brother that interviewed her recently. Boom, boom.
God damn.
Anyway, welcome to Renegade Culture.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Cool.
Talk to us about what's going on in. Where you now? The Windy City or what's?
I'm in Chicago. Yes.
In Chicago,
I
in
relocated here in September.
Okay, so it's a lot of Africans out in Chicago, I suppose.
I'm in a house. It's a pandemic, so I don't know.
Okay, all right. Ready to check.
See, like I haven't been seeing no Africans lately.
Okay, we just checking.
So our topic
Only
today
this
is
African.
about, what you said?
Or I've only been seeing this African being myself in my house. So
True. Our topic tonight, our main topic we wanted to talk about was racial capitalism. And we have a very educated audience, of course. But we wanted to talk about some of the things around how capitalism impacts our society and some of the differences between how folks describe the workings of capitalism. So some folks talk about, I guess it's kind of hitting the scene now. People are talking about racial capitalism. You got organizers, activists, academia. Folks are talking about it and talking about how it's endemic within capitalism in terms of racism and how that challenges some old school Marxist capitalism that talks about centering the workers. So can you give us a little bit of like history about the term racial capitalism and why it's so important to talk about capitalism through the lens of racism as opposed to just capitalism as something that impacts all workers?
And that had to be the longest question you had in quite a while.
That was a good sincere way to start. What you talking about?
So, okay, so the term racial capitalism essentially came into, I would say, the popular discourse in the United States. Theoretically, in 1983, when Cedric Robinson published the book Black Marxism. But in my perspective, it was really with the republication in 2000 that people really started taking up this term and this framework of racial capitalism, which, as Kamau stated, is essentially this idea that you cannot understand capitalism without understanding racism, and also that these two processes or these two systems arose simultaneously. So that's essentially what the idea of racial capitalism is. So there's a particular Cedric Robinson genealogy, and then there's another South African genealogy that the historian Peter James Hudson brought this genealogy to our attention more recently in an article called The Dark Proletariat. And essentially what he argues is that during the time in the 1980s as well, there were a bunch of Black activists, Black South African activists who are part of the Black consciousness movement, who are using this term racial capitalism to understand the political economy of South Africa. And they use it as a critique of both the liberalism of white folks who are saying that, you know, basically racism could be resolved through liberal capitalism. And they were also critiquing the orthodox Marxists who were saying that race was subordinate to capitalism. And so they use this term racial capitalism to really describe the political economy of apartheid. So those are two different genealogies. Generally speaking, when people have heard of racial capitalism, they have heard it through Cedric Robinson. So that's the sort of background of the term.
And why is it important that, like, why do people need to seek sort of capitalism through a racialized lens, let's say, for like America 2020?
Well, I would say for a number of reasons. Number one, because Black people are the most exploited in the system. So Black people and racialized and oppressed people more broadly. But my work particularly looks at Black people and Blackness. And so basically what Robinson did that was very, very fruitful was critique this idea that the white proletariat or the white working class are the sort of historical subjects. What he was saying is that no, the people who were enslaved and the people who are super exploited are actually the sort of subjects of history, so to speak, because they're challenging multiple forms of oppression, not least racialism or processes of racialization. And so I guess in layman's terms, it's important to understand racial capitalism to describe dynamics like last hired, first fired, right? Which applies to Black folks to understand. So in the 1960s, the League of Revolutionary Black Workers talked about niggermation. And this process of niggermation is basically that profit and speed up was built on the backs of Black workers, right? And Black workers were losing limbs, they were dying, they were getting sick from working in these very sort of inhumane and very speeded up conditions. And so all of that to say that all workers are exploited, but there's a special kind of oppression that accrues around Black workers. And so if we're really gonna both understand and overthrow capitalism, we need to center Black people, or what has historically been called like the Negro question.
Okay, we talk about capitalism. Oftentimes, Black folks are confused and they believe that there's a such thing as a Black capitalist. Can you speak on that? What's your thoughts on it? Do you believe that there are Black capitalists, or do they just qualify themselves as aspiring capitalists? You have so many Black folks who aspire to be capitalists, but they are in essence aspiring capitalists. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that there's a such thing as a Black capitalist?
I mean, I could aspire to be Beyonce. That don't make me her. So, I mean, we can aspire all we want to, but if you look at what actually constitutes capitalism, see, this is the other reason why racial capitalism is important, because it points out colonialism, imperialism, and war, and who has control of the state. Those are the actual foundations of capitalist accumulation. Black people don't own no fucking commanding heights. Black people don't own no means of production. Black people don't own no mines, right? Especially if we're talking about African Americans in particular. Now, there's something to be said about media and something like maybe Tidal, right? Jay-Z owns Tidal, which is a sort of media company. So some people argue that he owns a particular means of production as it relates to entertainment. But no, because generally speaking, Black entertainment don't own channels of distribution, right? They don't own like central levers in the entertainment system. Even if you look at Oprah, for example, she has her own network. That ain't her shit. That is Discovery, right? That is a subsidiary of Discovery. And so it's akin to like the comprador class in the global South, right? So it's a sort of dependent, contingent class that is fundamentally predicated on the super exploitation of largely Black folks, because those tend to be the captive markets. Because if these Black capitalists are not competing with large white corporations, right? So they're basically their accumulation is built on basically exploiting largely Black workers, right? Because if you look at it, Black businesses are largely small or medium-sized proprietorships. They tend to have only one employee, or they employ their family, and those family members are working for what? Free or for very low wages. And they tend to be in sort of industries like retail or salons or things like that. And so in a general sense, Black people are not capitalists. Black capitalism is a mythology. And if people have read Jared Ball's The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, he really breaks this down, that this is basically a hustle to sell. It was, a hustle by the Black press to sell newspapers, and a hustle by white corporations to have a particular captive market by arguing that Black people have this capital from their ability to both produce and consume, and it's bullshit.
Since we're on this particular topic, the whole Black bank phenomenon is big right now. You know what I mean? We have folks like Killer Mike, who's swearing by the whole Black banking system. We have folks asking us as late as 35 minutes ago about us banking Black. What's your thoughts on that? Because of the fact, I think that the masses are confused, and they actually believe that, like you spoke on Oprah, that we actually own some shit that we don't have.
The only thing that Killer Mike is killing is his understanding of banking. Like it's all a no. So let's just say, I could go into the minutia of it, but again, I just recommend the book, The Color of Money, or Jared Ball's book, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, that really breaks down why Black banking is an impossibility. Black banks tend to lose money through deposits, because banks don't make money through deposits and savings, right? They make money through lending. And who they gonna lend to? Our broke asses? No. So it's another sort of, it's part of this kind of like linear progress narrative, right? Where like the more we move through time, the better off Black people become, because ostensibly the better they are integrated into society, and the better they're able to model capitalism. But if we understand how capitalism actually works, we know that that is not the case. And so this is all mythology. It's all, it's a class politics, it's a class hustle, so that a few Black people can make some money. But it's baby money. So Chris Rock, the comedian, you remember he had this joke where he was like, he's a very rich and affluent entertainer. He said, I live in this very ritzy neighborhood. His neighbor was a dentist. He said, you know what it would take for a black dentist to live in my neighborhood? They would have to invent teeth. Mm-hmm. And then he said, if Bill Gates had Oprah's money, he would jump out the window and slit his throat on the way down. So it's like, Black people got money, but they don't got money, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just, all of this is just, false ideology in my perspective.
Yeah. So when we come back, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get more into this sort of interceding black class struggle and talk a little bit more about why this black elite continues to push the idea that we all can become independently wealthy if we just stick to sort of a capitalist model. So we're going to do that when we come back on Renegade Culture.
Yeah.
Yo, this is Renegade Culture. I'm the ear doctor, and this is your quick mix fix right here. Let's go.
To microphone in the zone of the sea of power, and him and all you pussy. Back to microphone in the zone of the sea of power, and him and all you pussy.
Black business.
Damn.
My dear, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Yeah, Renegade Coach in the building.
That was one of the worst, but we back, you know what I'm
It's
saying?
dope.
You keep trying,
I'm
man.
provocative. What's happening?
Ooh, you ugly. We back with Dr.CBS show.
Wait, Kamau has a beard. I just noticed it.
You like that? It's like, yeah, it's cool. Shut the fuck. Yeah, good, get it out. Good. Get one out.
Like a whole bunch of old ass Q-tips that broke and shit. They just glued that shit on the side of your face. Bro. Anyway, keep on moving.
All right.
We're here with our guest tonight.
Dr.CBS.
Dr. CBS.
You ever been on a podcast like this before? I don't think so. This is like the best podcast you've ever been on, right? Best so
It's
far.
the number one podcast.
Number one podcast.
The very best.
Yes.
There you go.
The only one close to it was Dr. Jared Ball. I mix what I like.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why his show's so dope.
Because he's had us on it, so that's probably why his show's
right.
so
That one
dope.
was I.
Oh, true.
Okay, all
Yo,
right.
so let's get back into it. So
Okay.
when we left off, we were starting to talk a little bit about, I'd say, the middle class and that's not even middle class, sort of the elite black folks. Elite black folks who seem to feel like their responsibility is to make us beholden and or allegiant to a system of capitalism and want to do everything possible to keep that going. And obviously what they have in terms of their desire to do that is their own personal wealth. But what is talk about what you think the basic function and role of the petty bourgeois, black class is in sort of American capitalist system?
So, I mean, historically, the black, bourgeoisie, if we read with my man, E. Franklin Frazier, this is like the original copy of Black Bourgeoisie, they have always served like a managerial function, right? The black bourgeoisie essentially serves a sort of buffer between the actual ruling class and then the overwhelming majority of black folks. And the interesting thing about like the black bourgeoisie is that because the income differentials are not vast, right? They're very, very close. And so a lot of class differentiation within the black community is cultural. It has to do with cultural capital and performance and decorum. And this is where we get things like racial uplift or politics of respectability, right? And so essentially black folk, I would say like the black bourgeoisie, because of their proximity to the black masses, right? It's only very, very recently that they were able to move away from, the masses of black folks in a general sense, especially in the era of Jim Crow. All the black folks live together irrespective of income or irrespective of class. It's only very recently that, black flight has been a possibility. And so there's a way in which the black middle class has really been invested in disciplining poor black people and disciplining working black people, because whatever violence is meted out against that group is very, very proximate to the middle class group, right? And whatever the stereotypes are about poor black people and the masses of black people, then also can apply to this group of blacks, this group of bourgeois Negroes who feel that, they ought to be on the same plane as white folks. The only thing that's hindering them is their blackness, right? And this class of folks also believes in what I call the but-for logic, right? That the United States would indeed and in fact be the greatest country on earth, but for racism. And so that's why they can be very, very militant when it comes to challenging racism, but very, very backward or very, very oppressive when it comes to issues of capitalism, because their whole fight against racism is to be better incorporated and better inscribed into the capitalist system. It's not for Black liberation.
So let's talk about that within the organizing circle, because I think that one thing that that's often overlooked is the fact that there's serious class struggle amongst the grassroots, amongst academia. Let's talk about that. How has that played out, in your travels? How do you see this whole struggle, this class struggle playing out amongst the so-called rebels or the so-called organizers?
Well, I actually don't have an organizing or activist background. I'm just a lowly academic. But I can only speak from the perspective of raggedy ass academics. And so, Walter Rodney talked about how, the Black intelligentsia are really enemies of the people until proven otherwise. And I think that we see this playing out in real time. So we see Black academics claiming they're sort of activist bona fides, right? They might have flew over Ferguson, or they might go and hand out a few hot meals. And then they, to them, they're in these streets. And so I think that there's a lot of antagonism between actual grassroots organizers, people who are actually doing that work, who feel very, very hostile to these, these fly-by academics parading as activists and organizers, who then get the money, they get the grants, they get all of these sort of endorsement deals, book deals, going to the Grammys and doing all this extra shit, to the detriment of the actual movement on the ground. And I think that the other aspect of, so somebody like Stacey Abrams, I think we need to really consider in this framework, because she's getting all of these snaps in class because of the Black superwoman trope on the one hand, but also because of her challenge to voter suppression on the other hand, right? And so she's being compared to Fannie Lou Hamer, anyway, she's being compared to all of these sort of very, very radical and militant people who are doing this type of work, because it's very confusing. People think that whipping votes, right, is objectively sort of progressive or radical. But if you look at who's funding her, if you look at what she actually stands for other than enfranchisement, she's not progressive, right? Or she's progressive in the American sense, but there's nothing radical or leftist about her. And I think that, again, because of the way, what's confusing about it is because of the ways in which Black folks can be militantly anti-racist, but still invested in the system. This is where it becomes very confusing, whereby she can be seen as a radical or seen as somebody who's really on the side of the people, when I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah. Do you think it's fashionable now because of the climate? Because I think a few years ago, folks like her, we didn't really hear a peep from them. And I think that with all the racial uprisings and the fact that it's in the forefront right now, and it's cool to talk about it on the radio and on TV. Do you think that's a big part of her existence right now, of her radical, quote unquote, nature?
Yeah, I mean, because it's easy to be like, cops shouldn't shoot Black people. We fucking know, ain't nothing radical about that, right? There's nothing really radical about that statement. But if you any sort of bourgeois Negro in your Chanel suit and you go on MSNBC and say that shit, you can align yourself de facto with these movements that are happening on the ground, when really you wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, really. And so I think that, I think it is part of this milieu, that she's able to sort of say some of the right things that make it seem like she's with the shit, when I do not think that that's the case. So.
Right. It seems like, part of it seems like, we've talked about this a little bit before, and it extends past this, but movement capture, right? So there's these rich foundations and individuals who give money to support either academia or activists or organizers. They're the ones who give roles to actors and actresses, and they're the ones who pay for the sort of political class to run. And so it seems like folks are so captured by that money, and is, post, I think you mentioned this, post the 60s and 70s, I would say, obviously the Obama era ushered in this time period where the sky's the limit. So there's no longer this being being sort of next to black folks, next to poor working class black folks. Now the black elite thinks that, and they're right, they can become the president, the secretary of state, and all that kind of stuff. So they're even like cutting ties to the larger black population.
I want to add
Right.
to that. Definitely appreciate you saying that you don't have a background in organizing, because of the fact that most of these academics are so arrogant with their shit that they've created this whole facade of I'm a grassroots organizer because of the fact that I said that, like you said, the police shoot people. You know what I'm saying? But because I said that folks shouldn't be locked up. I mean, that's a beautiful thing that you can come out your mouth and say that. That's good to hear some truth around this motherfucker. You know?
I have a PhD. I'm an ideas man, as I say. Like, my historical task is to redistribute resources from the academy to society, intellectual resources, but also material resources to the best of my ability. And to so again, Walter Rodney talks about waging struggle where you're at. So as an academic, my job is to like support contingent faculty, to not let the administration boss me around, to do what I want, to do what I want to do and teach the classes in the way that I want to teach. And every student is a potential comrade. And so to approach my class in that way, but that's my job. And, I don't have any dog in the fight of having to pretend like I'm an activist or an organizer, because I'm in community and in solidarity with people who actually do that work. And I see what that work is. And I would never purport to do that work, just like they would never purport to do the work that I do. And so like, I think that when you're part of a community and when you understand what I would call mutual comradeship, you don't have to fake the funk, because you have relationships with people who actually do that work, and you can be of service to those people without trying to, inhabit what the work that they actually do.
Shout out to Walter Rodney, because Walter Rodney is one of our unsung warriors and heroes out of Guyana. For those who don't know,
Patricia Rodney too. Don't sleep on Patricia Rodney.
Definitely Patricia
in Atlanta,
Rodney.
Still alive.
We actually
looking great.
We actually had her
Still
nephew.
organizing.
We actually had his nephew on the show. So definitely Roscoe.
Yeah.
So we definitely he's one of those brothers who are and like you said, Patricia Rodney, who are always overlooked. This brother was so cold, they had to blow him up with a car bomb. You know what I'm saying? And this is modern times. A lot of times when you talk about assassinations, folks go back to the 60s and all of that as if, shit didn't happen in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s or whatever.
Maurice Bishop and all that shit, yeah.
Definitely.
So we're going to come back for our third segment. So we want to hit on sort of the international aspects of capitalism and the super exploitation that happens.
Colonialization, the whole thing.
Overseas and here. And again, how we as black folks are now being tied to that super exploitation, particularly the elite, because we refuse to stand apart from it and to do work against it. So we're going to be back with Dr.CBS when we come back. Renegade Culture.
Renegade Culture. Here is something you can't understand.
I could just shoot a man.
Shoot a man.
Wasn't Shoot a Man? What is it? Kill a Man, my bad.
Man.
Oh, well.
No, this nigga from Canarsie. Anyway, Renegade Coach is in the building. Kalonji Jumper Chang's in the joint.
Kamau K. Franklin.
Kamau's from fucking...
Shut the fuck up. Yo, we here at Dr.CBS. Sporting a community movement builder shirt.
Okay.
Let's give it up. Let's give it up. Sure. What happened with that?
Give it up for the community movement. You made that one too. All right.
That's right. So we want to get back into it. We've covered some different things that have been happening.
Wait, before you go there.
What happened, brother,
we
man?
want to shout out her beverage because Naka said she was drinking
LaCrosse. Can you hold it up?
She's drinking some sports.
Don't give them no advertising.
It's LaCroix. Yes. Okay. Sort of like St. Croix.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Everybody ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's get back. So we wanted to end this, or do this third segment, talk a little bit about international relations and how black folks, have taken a back seat and have stopped sort of being a proponent. At least those, again, in the elite class have accepted U.S. imperialism as just a part of them participating in the system.
It's business as usual.
It's business as usual. That's right. And so I think we're having our first ever black Secretary of Defense. And again, you have folks like being like, yeah, it's a black Secretary of Defense. I think you even had like a New York Times writer recently come out and try to sort of split hairs and say how important it is, and not to talk about sort of the imperialism of the United States. So all that to say is, what do you think has happened in terms of, why do you think the black bourgeoisie has sort of been brought off and have decided just to not even talk about foreign affairs anymore?
Yeah, so interestingly, this same person don't talk about imperialism also thinks the U.S. is a caste society. So we could take what she got to say with a grain of salt. In any event, essentially one way to understand this is that basically after World War II, when the U.S. entered into the Cold War, part of the way in which it was able to implement civil rights was through the disciplining of the left, specifically the black left. And so this is why we see state violence against people like W.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, Shirley Graham Du Bois, Alpheus Hunton, Vicky Garvin, William Patterson, the list goes on. And that becomes very significant because part of that radicalism was a strong internationalist analysis and strong internationalist ties. And as the U.S. granted sort of nominal liberal civil rights, part of that bargain was for civil rights to be renationalized. So delink it from broader struggles, happening in the global South, delink it from issues of decolonization, for example, and simply, struggle for liberal rights and recognition. And so I think that we're still seeing the ramification of that today, where, the black ruling class ain't got no analysis. One example of this, for example, is like the Congressional Black Caucus. So if you recall, like in 1993, for example, with the Rwandan genocide, they didn't know what to do. Like, because it was two black groups, right? Two African groups, they didn't know what side, they had no sort of sense of how the US should intervene. And by the time they came out with the policy, the massacre had already ended. And so there's a way in which, and there's the Zionism of the black ruling class. So there's just so much that they don't understand about foreign policy. And I think that that's part of the tacit agreement. We will allow black folks to be in this position of power, but they can't speak against empire, right? They can't go against U.S. foreign policy and U.S. international policy and practice. And I think that, that's basically the orientation of the entire, black political class, especially the sort of the national political class.
And do you think that, in this day and age, in terms of like some of the stuff that's happening around the world, the expansion of AFRICOM, obviously you spoke a little bit about sort of Zionism and a large support amongst the black political class for that. So, in terms of solutions or answers and so forth, like, what do you think is necessary to sort of fight back against this sort of what I'm going to call a black ruling class that's over the black masses and even over the black agenda?
Or should we say comprador class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that obviously we need a broad-based leftist movement. I believe should be black-led. I think that we definitely need a third party, which I also think should be black-led or have a black third party entirely. We have to get our international analysis up. I think we need to close all of the 800 bases throughout the world that the United States have. We definitely need to shut down AFRICOM. I think that there's a broad sort of we need to end sanctions against Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, and especially against these countries that have, that are socialist or that are antagonistic to the United States. North Korea is another one. So I think that we need to really think about the relationship between imperialism abroad and imperialism at home, because the militarism that we implement throughout the world is directly linked to the police occupying forces here. We know about the militarization of the police. Like, we know about the ways in which the police serve as occupying forces in our communities to keep us trapped in, ghettoized areas and to keep us out of areas where we ostensibly don't belong. And as U.S. imperialism continues to reach its asymptote, right, or continues to reach its limits, all of that violence is going to get turned inward. And as we know, because Black people are historically the internal enemies, all of that violence is going to continue to sort of roll downhill against our communities. And so it will behoove, even if it's even if it's just in self-interest, it will behoove us to have solidarity with communities in the Caribbean, in Asia, in Africa, so that we can, so that as U.S. Imperialism collapses, which it ultimately will, we have broad based sort of networks and connections that will help us absorb that blow. Because historically, if you follow the work of Gerald Horne, as I do, what his work conveys is that Black people have always had these international connections. It's the way that we've been able to sustain ourselves against the state, whether it was aligning with the British during the War of 1812, whether it was aligning with Japan, whether it was Afro-Asian solidarity, whether it was tricontinentalism, whether it was a non-aligned movement. Black people have always maneuvered beyond the state because our citizenship has always been tenuous at best anyway. So
it's funny, you talk about, well, not funny, you talk about the 800 plus military bases around the world and their connection to police terrorism here. We know that here in Georgia, for instance, at Georgia State, they have the Israeli police force actually trains local and state police in this particular area. How would you see, what do you suggest as far as combating and bringing awareness to the masses? Because I think that the thing about our people, with such a loss on such a grand scale, that when you talk about 800 plus military bases, that's like a foreign thought. No one even believes that the U.S. could have that many military bases around the country. No one believes that there's over 1,000 different police agencies inside of the United States. Folks always talk about the FBI is watching and the CIA, but they don't know about all of these other different agencies who are not even in collaboration, because they actually bump heads and run into each other in many cases, as we saw with the Black Panther Party, the Republic of New Africa, so on and so forth. How do you, as a, coming from your line of work, what do you suggest as far as us highlighting or educating the masses in regards to what's going on and organizing them, getting to a state of organization where we can actually make this a reality as far as shutting these bases down?
Yeah, well, because look around us, right? If you want to talk about military bases and occupying forces, the majority of military bases are concentrated in the South, right? Most people in a major city live in a city that has a U.S. military base, objectively speaking, right? And we can name them. I'm from a place called Tucson, Arizona, which is not a major, major metropolitan area, but it has something called Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. It's also one of the hubs of Raytheon, right? And so but it's so normalized because, I heard somewhere Raytheon has a partnership with the fucking Girl Scouts, right? And so it's so these war industries like Lockheed Martin, Blackwater, Raytheon, et cetera. So these private corporations that fund things like the expansion of the military base complex, they're so normalized. We see them as sponsors. They give money to HBCUs. They're at every job fair, right? They fund these Black institutions, right? And so I think we need to, first of all, it's just being conscious of that it's all around us, but being cognizant of the work that does, right? That all of these, AIPAC is also investing. AIPAC is the largest Zionist lobby. They sort of have all these campaigns as well at HBCUs, right? To combat the spread of BDS, or to combat, the rise of pro-Palestinian solidarity. And these are all linked to militarism, and militarism is constitutive, in my perspective, of racial capitalism. And so I think just pointing out the fact that there's a military base in your town, in your city. There's a private or a public prison in your city or in your town, right? In some places, that prison or that jail is the largest employer. And this is problematic, right? Because concomitant or alongside the fact that the jail is the largest employer means that there's no other employment for people, and so people they support jails because that's where one of the only places they have to work, and then Walmart, right? And so these are objective realities, and so I think that just making that clear, but also mainstreaming socialism, mainstreaming mutual aid, and a sort of community ethic, so that people know that another world is possible. right? That there is an alternative to this shit. Like, it's a struggle, it's an uphill battle, but there is an alternative, and it ain't black capitalism.
Right. For the listeners, because we have a wide array and range of listeners, why black socialism?
Because black people are the vanguard, and socialism is simple, right? It is to each according to his need, from each according to his ability, his or her or their, whichever, right? And who can't get behind that?
No doubt. Damn. We like to thank you for coming on Renegade Culture. dr.cbs lived up to a joint tonight.
I thought so too, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
She added a little something, you know what I'm saying, to the show.
Okay. And I see why the other interviewer the other day was like, oh, dr.cbs.
Oh, dr.cbs, you're
Yes.
so great. All praises due. All praises due.
She's like she was the Buddha.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna look for my 12-pack of LaCroix in the mail.
Uh-oh.
He wanted to talk shit.
And that was the ear doctor. Ear doctor will be
Passion
sending you.
fruit.
You got that
Passion
ear doctor?
fruit.
Passion fruit.
We don't promote those brands.
And by the way, that was the ear doctor. So if you want to say, instead of saying fuck Renegade Culture, make sure you say fuck the ear doctor.
Yo.
In your ear with Rosie Greer.
So really
You know what
quick, Dr. CBS, how can people follow your work and check your work out?
My website is so it's dr-cbs.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, BlackLeftAF. That's it. Tap in.
True.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on. When we come back,
We got Blue is free, because he's going to show you why he free.
boom, Renegade Culture.
Black Out.
I just wanna dance with you. Come on, come on. I just wanna dance with you. Come on, come on. I just wanna hold you close. Come on, come on. Take you in my arms. Come on.
Saturday Renegade Culture, we back at you.
You know what I'm saying? We here.
Yo, man, it's been a pretty heavy show.
Yeah, man, that was a really good show. Dr. CBS really broke down a lot of shit on racial capitalism, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I like
that's your favorite word. So you
I know, I've been using that.
Whole show, racial capitalism. Racial capitalism.
Make sure y'all taking notes for this show. Make sure y'all taking notes.
Okay.
Dictionaries and thesaurus is out.
Okay, got Minister
True
Serve over there.
indeed, true indeed, you know what I'm saying?
Minister Serve with his potty mouth.
Look,
Not me.
Luckily
What
I'll be
I'm talking
edited out.
about.
I'll be edited
What
out.
I'm talking about.
Hey.
What I'm talking.
Spoken like a true minister. Speaking of minister, I saw you had
Who I had?
You was chilling with
Minister Slaughter.
Slaughter.
That's right, the trap preacher, yo.
Yeah.
I was a little I came into the space down in the Pittsburgh area here in Atlanta. We walked in, he's doing the show. He's like, I don't know who you cats are. He's like, I don't got my piece with me. I don't feel comfortable. My man stopped what he was doing. He walked off stage. He came back with a black bag. He's like, I got my shit with me now. He put it down in front.
He tried to play you like a sucker. He know who I am.
I don't know.
He just let you.
Where the fuck you get that from, nigga? Where you get?
He chunked him out.
You know who I am.
He's like, I don't know who your little punk ass is.
That ain't chomping. That's like respect, B.
That's
That's like I
right.
get my gat
You know
on
that nigga went and got.
He was shook. He was like, yo, let me get my gat around. Come out. I know how you get
Oh
down.
yeah, you know he was scared of him.
Motherfucker.
The nigga went and got his notepad. But anyway,
Who we got with us, bro?
we got my man straight out of the ATL.
True.
This brother right here. I first heard of him through a band he had called The Movements.
The movement. Oh, I like that.
Movement.
I like that.
They was
A real
rocking
band.
hard.
All right.
Then they was rocking the A3C.
Ooh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think they had the whole setup at A3C, if I'm not mistaken. And now all of a sudden, this brother right here, he's been, had some serious music coming up out of his camp.
All
you know
right.
what I'm saying? We have a young fella I know who's we have a mutual relative. We ain't
Oh,
gonna talk
word?
about him right now
not?
because he
Uh-oh.
him and
We
Minister
damn sure
Server
ain't gonna talk
beefing.
about it right now. It'll be a whole nother show.
Him and Minister
We'll talk
Server
about
beefing,
him.
but
Oh.
he'll be back again.
He on punishment? Is he on punishment or some shit?
He ain't on punishment. Anyway, this brother right here has an EP coming out this Saturday.
That's right.
When y'all see this, you'll be able to go ahead and download this EP. There's some hot shit. I heard some exclusives. They got a couple videos coming out.
Oh, word?
Man, Blue is Free is in the building.
Blues Blue.
Thank y'all for having me, brother.
No doubt,
for
man.
coming, man.
What's good, man? Tell us, a little something about that musical background. I gave him a little taste.
Man, the Movement Music is the label. We got like 4.5 artists, one that we developing.
Wait a minute.
About to come out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
4.5?
Yeah, we developing.
What's the half? Oh, you still developing? Okay.
We still developing.
I was about to
so,
say they got midget MC.
Bushwick Bill's son with him. Good.
Okay, bro.
back in the day, they used to actually develop these artists and spend some time with them in the studio and spend some time with them, getting their swag right and everything. So we do that over at our camp too. So when they're ready, then we'll have 5 artists, so that half an artist will grow up into the 5th artist.
No doubt. And that's something that's rare these days because of the fact that you got cats that just get on the damn SoundCloud and find a beat on the internet, and all of a sudden
they want to be hip hop stars,
and they become that. Nas X is one of them. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, tell us about this new EP that's coming out.
EP, 7 songs, man. We got 7 songs on the EP. I actually dropped a single last year at the beginning of the year. Was supposed to drop the EP, but then COVID hit. So it kind of delayed everything, and that gave me a chance actually to go back and revamp some things and get it together. I added a couple songs, took a couple songs away, and I think it came out better. So it come out this Saturday, January 30th, which is my mother's birthday. So we're gonna release it on my mother's birthday. I think I was conceived on that day because like 9 months later, I was actually born. So I don't know if this my real birthday, it was her birthday or whatever. So.
Let's not get too much into that.
He telling us some personal information.
What's the name of the EP? Did you mention it?
Out the Blue.
Out the Blue?
Yeah, it's called Out the Blue.
Okay, so now I actually got to check out some of the videos. He has some new videos coming out. They just recorded down in DR, Dominican Republic.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's hot footage out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually for some grown folks. So you know,
it's definitely for some grown folks.
For some grown folks.
Now would that be on the EP as well or no?
Yeah, that single is called what's the name of the single, Kayvon? Yeah, Real One. Okay, it's called Real One. So that video will be out probably middle of February.
Yeah, I saw my son in there, Cash. You know,
Cash.
You know, I was like, big up to my son. That's my son's one of the artists on that particular label as well. And it's crazy because I was looking at it and I just saw these buttocks shaking in front of my son's face, and I was like, well, I'm appalled.
I thought it was your son's buttocks. I was like, the way you was describing it. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Well, man.
I mean, you know, it's the new generation. You can do what you want to do.
You know, so funny thing about it, not the sidetrack. 1 year ago this week, there was the Kobe Bryant incident, and Cash was actually on the show with us last year.
Yeah.
And last year he was going by Big Bud Peace.
Big Bud, that's right, Big Bud Peace, yeah.
And you said something else. But anyway, we'll get back to that. But anyway, okay, so we have 7 tracks coming out.
Yeah, we was talking about butts, man. I thought we were supposed to be talking about black capitalism or something like that.
We was talking about black capitalism. You know what I'm saying?
What's the black capitalism?
It's all part of it.
Since you talk about butts and black capitalism, what's your thoughts on black capitalism? Because we know you operate several different businesses.
Man, I think we have to support our black businesses. It starts there. And I don't think where we actually trying to get to, I don't think we'll get there in our generation. And I don't think we want to sacrifice to not get there to make sure that our kids are there and our grandkids are there. But we simply just have to keep the dollar in the community. Like, I agree with, I don't want to say segregation, but separation. I think separation is actually the key. So like this jacket I'm wearing, I got it from Jeff in the West End. This hoodie that I'm wearing, Cash made it. And these shoes, they Versace, but they're by 2 Chainz. So the reason I got them was because to support 2 Chainz. And if we keep spending that dollar in that community, then that's the key to the success of black capitalism. But until we do that and we keep spending with the other cultures, because in their cultures, they keep their money together. The Jewish people keep their money together. The Asians keep their money together. The all of them, just all of them. Man, I can start. I was gonna say the Latinos, but the Latinos and the Mexicans, they keep their money together. We the only ones that don't actually have factories and things that we create to give to ourselves. We go to them to kind of subcontract our things out to them to get services from them, and we like Dr.cbs was saying, we only really have services. Like we own business that are services, but we don't actually create any goods. So until we start creating those goods, and we won't be the Bill Gates this generation, but maybe my grandkids will, just like the Kennedys built their thing. If we build our things now, then we can be that.
Do you feel like your politics are infused in your music? It is part of the reason why you've gone into kind of the line of work of not just like being an artist, but being an owner? Is that based on your politics too?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And where your politics come from?
Just everyday life, just what I went through, Just seeing my family, some struggle, some succeed, and just going through and seeing failures and going back to successes and not leaning on someone else's check. You know what I'm saying? It's like finding my own check. So I feel like the gentrification and things of that nature, like how do we combat that? Or we talk about black capitalism and we know the definition of it, but what's the solution is really the big question to me. So I'm interested in it. I'm not as well versed as Dr.CBS or anybody like that, but I do have my questions and I have my concerns. I do. None of us are?
No, none of us are as well versed as Dr.CBS. Definitely not Kamau. But anyway, as a label owner and a studio owner, you know, you're looking to employ more black folks, black artists or whatever. What's your ultimate goal with that?
Absolutely, to empower, starting with my community, and my community starts with my family. That's why I work with my family first, and then kind of extending from there to my friends, to people that I deal with day to day. That's why I got DJ Black Magic. That's why Cash is my blood cousin. That's how you say we got a connection in family that way. And then the spinoff from them, like Cash got a friend. His name is Eddie. Like that's my little bro, but we know we not kin by blood. Yeah. But when you start extending, now you four or five degrees removed from the next successful person that you could provide a service for, or something of a foundation that you can just start building a community at that point. And I feel like if I do it, if Killer Mike do it, if T.I. do it, or everybody else, if we doing that and we constantly build and have the best interests of the community at heart, then the next generations will be able to actually benefit from it more than we did.
Cool. So we're going to jump to another part of the show. So you laid out some very good intellectual answers, but now we're going to bring it down a little bit, because my man, this is not on purpose. It's like, who's the question asker here. Okay. So this is Naka's nonsense. Yes. This is our bold question. We always ask our artists to pick out of the thousands of questions that are in these bowls. I'm going to hide this from the camera. There's a whole bunch of questions in here. We want you to pick out one of them.
Last time it was 35.
Now it's thousands. So we want you to pick out a question, dig deep, brother.
Yes, sir.
And read that question. It's a Morris Brown educated.
Let me get on the bottom.
You got that? Good job. Oh, there you go. Well, you can come back on the show. You know what I'm saying? Read that question off for us and then let us know what your answer is.
Oh, wow. What R&B soul artist would you like to do a song with quickly? Eric Roberson.
Nice.
Eric Roberson. I actually have some records that I have recorded that's demoed, and if I can't get at them, Eric, calling you, man, I got a couple records that I penned for you to be on the tailor-made just for Eric Roberson. So that's
my man Server got a question.
Yeah, you know, as an artist and as an executive, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face when you're looking for new talent, as opposed to being the talent yourself?
I always seem to put myself on the back burner over the years. Like I've been doing music since I moved to Atlanta in '96, so as soon as I got off the boat, I was doing music. And I would always be working on a project for myself. And first, I'm a producer-songwriter. So I would meet an artist, and then I would put my project to the side to complete somebody else's project. And I've been really going through this cycle for 25 years where I'll start doing something, and then I'll see somebody that I'm feeling, or I feel like worthy for me to, reach down and give them a hand and help them up. And that's been the challenge. The challenge has just been me being able to complete a project finally, and now I'm here. And Saturday it'll be out.
Well, all right.
What's the name of the album? Give us the name of the EP one more time.
Yeah, the EP is Out the Blue.
Out the Blue.
Out the Blue. Blue is free. Out the Blue.
Where can they find it?
Everywhere. Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, everywhere you can get it.
No doubt. We're going to have you back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Blue is free. He about to rip something up for us real quick, and he's going to take us out with the fader. Renegade Coach is in the building. Don't get it fucked up.
Renegade Culture. Blue is free. Yeah, the movement music. Please don't confuse it with none of that bullshit out there you used to. We are the future. Yeah, get them hands up. Yeah, this serious for you to stand up, get them hands up. So get them hands up high, 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 high. Now reach for the sky, 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 sky. Yeah, yeah, stand up, just fight forward. Get some mind together, get right forward. Speak your heart, my nigga, like I write forward. Yeah, yeah, now get hype for it. But it's stand up, get them hands up, get them hands up, get them hands up. This serious for you, stand up, get them hands up, get them hands up. Now reach for the sky, 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 sky. Man, put them hands high, 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 high. Yeah, goddamn, they done it again. Goddamn, have mercy when it's ever gon' end. A mother lost a son, them homies lost them a friend. We the only one that's losing, when the fuck we gon' win? They think we worthless, we ain't nothing to them. They gun us down in the streets like we ain't a thing. They only fucking with us when we live above the rim. They let us make it as long as we ain't higher than them. Boy, gone. Yeah, nigga, fess me, you win. Yes, sir, boss. I'ma go and bring you that ring. As long as you cut the check and make me part of the team. And I don't care just as long as I fling that see on the screen. And I don't care about the just as long as I bling. I don't wanna speak the truth just as long as I sing. Don't really care as long as I ain't feeling the pain. So the serious for you to stand up. Get them hands up. Get them hands up. Get them hands up. It's serious for you to stand up. Get them hands up. Get them hands up. Yeah. Now put them hands up. High. Sky. Sky, 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 sky. Man, put them hands high, 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 high. Yeah, Renegade Culture, man. Thank y'all for having me tonight. Blue is free. This is the movement of music. Please don't confuse it with none of that bullshit out there you used to. We are the future. Peace.